tuned in to StarCHaser Central, a podcast about Charles Hamilton music, moments, and everything in between. I'm Slick Braxton.
I am Mike D. Jackson, and I would like to say that my client is not guilty.
Who is your client?
One Charles Hamilton.
Okay, okay, good. Good. It's hot, so you in this long sleeve shirt it might bother me. Are you okay? You good?
Yeah, just just we're taking things to trial.
Okay,
We're going into business today, so
okay.
I want to make sure that I dress professionally and respectfully for this situation today.
Okay. It seems like you mean business, so I'm following your lead today in more
Okay.
ways than one. Um, how are you? How are you doing other than this stressful trial?
I wouldn't necessarily say stressful. I've been in situations like this before.
Mhm.
It's it's not the greatest, but it's one of those things where I think that we can we could still win this. We could have a favorable outcome in the situation today. But how about yourself?
I'm okay, man. I did not know I was walking into this case. I didn't know I was stepping into an episode of Law and Order. But I'm fine. If there's gonna be a Benson cameo, let me know now, so I can step my Riz game up because that's what I want.
There will not be any cameos,
Oh,
unfortunately.
yeah. Well, one can dream. But today, in conjunction with this trial, we are also reviewing a new tape that we have not listened to on this episode on this podcast yet, and it's kind of a sequel, and and they played Dilla too.
Yes, the infamous and sometimes controversial, and then they played Dilla too. This tape came out December 2011, either the 9th or the 10th. I'm not sure. Um, there's not a lot of information on this tape, but I will say this: if you were there, um, at the scene of the, let's say, crime, then you know a decent amount about this tape. Um, for me personally, what can I say? Um, I want to say this is why it's a little difficult, man. This tape, I'll say it now. Maybe this tape might have been overhated. It might have been overhated at the time, just because let's say if we're starting from 2008, right? We get to 2008, 2011, 2012-ish. This, I want to say, was considered the most hated or disliked tape in Charles's catalog. If we look further down the road, it's like, can you really say this tape from 2011, December 2011, is, that bad of the tape? That bad? I think that's what we should be discussing today. Of course, along with some of our favorites and things that missed the mark, but that's what we're here today to do. Try to put some respect on this tape.
That is the point of our podcast. To one, listen to re-listen to tapes to see if they're good. Listen to tapes that we've never listened to and kind of give our perspective on there. And then there's this part. Not often we do this kind, but tapes that maybe were less favorable at the time of their release. This is the perfect way to give like a comprehensive look at that tape in today's climate and see if maybe we were bugging or if we were right in our thoughts. So I assume that's what this case is all about. So I'm interested in to hear how you break this down. But being as you are the defendant, the defense attorney here, I do have to ask you on cross examination, how did you feel when you first heard this tape?
Great, great question. And this is why, as well, why we have this podcast, because we talk about music moments and everything in between, right?
Hmm.
We also have to talk about the good, bad, and ugly in Charles Hamilton's career.
Hmm.
So we wouldn't be the podcast we are if we're going to be faking it and be like, oh, every tape's a supersonic, every tape's good, I'll be honest, dead honest, I did not like this tape at all when it first came out.
Hmm.
Didn't like it at all. I was like, nope. This is when a lot of the fans were just like, nah, what Shaw's doing. I remember this is when I tell you guys about the climate, like, oh man, at a certain point, things just flipped. And we were already kind of getting there.
Hmm.
This is definitely like the pinnacle where I can say people were like, everyone was flat out saying this to Charles. No, we don't like this. This is bad. This is not good. I want to, have this new segment called "What Did the Star Chaser Say?" Now, for some of you that are watching from back in the day, I'm not going to say your name, so be lucky, be thankful. But there were some actual good things that some people said about this tape. Um, I remember one guy because people were asking, is this all freestyles? Because at the time Charles was doing the freestyles and everything. One guy said, all I have to say is after the next few tapes, Charles will be the king of the cipher if he really is doing them straight from the dome from here on out. So it's like, okay. There was like one or two people that said that they felt that this tape was actually good. I think they actually preferred the freestyles and maybe the low quality sound, because this is definitely when we're in the Charles rapping into the MacBook.
Hmm.
But of course, there were the people that weren't fans of this, saying, hey, tapes like this, they're BS. Never want to download them, never want to listen. Other people are like, hey, how was this tape? And people were just saying, and they're like, really, it's that bad? And then this is one thing I really want to make sure that we cannot stress enough. There's one person that said, if y'all want Charles to go back to making good music, let's pick a day and raid the comment box on his blog, which is a no-no. Don't do that. There's constructive ways to say, hey, I would like this, or maybe you should try it this way. Like anyone, especially back in the day, I never did this. I never voiced my opinion out and said, Charles, this fucking sucks. I never did that.
Hmm.
But there's better ways than being constructive and saying, hey, Charles, um, I think this tape would have been better if you recorded it this way or recorded it that way, which a lot of people weren't doing. But there's no point of just going out and saying, "Hey, this sucks. Do better," But that concludes the little segment of what did the Star Chaser say.
Okay. So for the most part, I would say it was a less than favorable reception. This was probably like the jumping off point for a lot of people, um, from the Charles Hamilton music experience, at least for maybe a couple of years before they jumped back on. I'll be honest, I never listened to this tape. Because by this time, I believe that he had done a few, or at least one or two, like sequel tapes. And the thing about me is, if once you start doing sequels, and then I notice there's a theme or like a common reception from me, I can't trust that things are gonna change. So there have been a couple of classic tapes I deem classics that he did like a second version of that I just wasn't a fan of at the time. We might go back and listen to those, and my thoughts might change. But at the time, it was just I can't do this. This isn't for me right now. It's not to me. It wasn't good, and those are the words I used that day. So when I saw this, I was like, I can't. I'm not even gonna give this a time of day. So this was actually my first listen. Um, I'm not part of this case. I can only go by what I'm basically a witness. I'll say that. In this case, I'll be deemed a witness. Um, and how things proceed from there, we will see.
We shall see. I am ready to get started whenever you guys are. It's one of those things where, of course, this is in case you guys haven't heard this tape. It's a lot of songs on here, especially compared to, and then they played Dilla, the first one. I think
Mhm.
the first one only had like 6 or 7 songs, and the rest were just like the instrumentals to it.
Yep.
This technically it's like 21 tracks, 20 something tracks. But then if you want to be technical, there's like maybe 2 or 3 skits, or interludes you want to call them, and then I think 2 or 3 of them are actually beats. But still, it's still almost like 20 songs to
Yeah.
listen to. So it's a lot to get through, and it's a little interesting when you go from like 6, 7 to like 20. You know what I
Right.
mean? But in this case, we will do the top three that we think are our best or our favorites, and then the other three that we think that missed the mark. They all can't be winners, but no one has to be a loser in this case. So I'm ready.
Yeah. I guess to start off, I would like to ask you, how do you feel about when artists, music artists in particular, do sequels or like they do like the follow up? So like Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor 2. Uh, some other ones. Name
I
some other
got you.
ones.
I got you. Lloyd Banks had The Hunger for More too.
Correct.
Eminem had Marshall Mathers LP too.
That's the one I was trying to figure out. Yeah.
I got you. In certain situations, they can be. Let's now. Let me not forget. Jay-Z. What
All the
Blueprint.
blueprints. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, the blueprints. Lil Wayne with the Carter. He has had
Yep.
multiple Carters.
Hmm.
Um, it depends. It's one of those things where it can be iffy. It reminds me of, even though it's not a sequel, but let's say, for example, when an artist drops a second album, their sophomore, effort, and sometimes they say the sophomore jinx. Sometimes it's not as good as the first one. But
Yeah.
if we're focusing on the part two to something, same thing. The first one might just be infinitely better because it just that aura, that atmosphere that you caught the first time around, you might not get on the second time. I think in certain situations, like let's say Lil Wayne, Carter one was actually okay if people heard it. Carter two definitely better. I think for Jay-Z, it's a mixed bag because I want to say Blueprint one is definitely like one of his top albums. Blueprint two is up there. You know what I mean? I think it's like one of those like depends on who you are. Now,
Right.
when it comes to like Lloyd Banks with the Hunger for More, infinitely better than the second one. Eminem with Marshall Mathers LP two, he shouldn't even named it Marshall Mathers LP2. So it's one of those things where it's like you really have to come with the fire and the same intensity or passion, whatever you want to call it. You have to. Otherwise, it's going to be looked at like as a stain in your career. How about you? How do you feel about it?
I think my biggest thing is the tough thing is that first one's like a classic. Like I don't mind when people do series, like Blueprint's a series, Carter's a series. I think the problem is when that first one is like an undeniable, absolute classic. Once you start, once you place that two or like a tagline behind the second one, you're instantly you play the compare game. So like if people fell in love with that tape, they're going to think they're getting the exact same thing from that tape. And I think that can be detrimental to like an audience from their experience and also the artist trying to do something different. Like if you want to do something, if you want to just have the name of the series, but like you just want to do something different, it's almost beneficial to just call it something different because you're venturing so far away from whatever you did on that first one, and that's what people are going to point to when they see the title. I think the other thing that kind of is a difficult thing to navigate is the years in between. So, uh, so let's say you drop something like I think Lupe Fiasco dropped Food and Liquor in 2006. I want to say Food and Liquor 2 came out in 2011 or 12. It might have been 12 or something like that. But like that
Okay.
6 year difference is such a gap because like, oh, okay, we've had this before, we've had this in the meantime, and then I think we're coming off of lasers, and nobody really didn't like that. So you go back to Food and Liquor 2, people think, okay, this is gonna be getting back to the old Lupe. And even that album isn't. I liked it. It's fine. But like, there are people who looked at that album was like, this isn't what we wanted. This still isn't the Lupe that we knew from Food and Liquor. Whatever. So I think that's the difficult thing to navigate is the time in between and just the aura that comes with that title. So I think that's really the difficult part to really figure out.
That's a good point because at the same time, you don't want to release it too soon. Like for
Right.
example, like 50 Cent never released another Get Rich or Die Trying. Like he just had the first one, and I'm not counting the movie soundtrack. That's a
Right.
completely different thing. But you know, you don't come out with one, and then like 2 years later you come out with the part two. You know what I mean? Unless you're doing like a double CD type of thing, then that's different. Also to put myself under the microscope, even though it doesn't matter, but
The Mike Roscoe.
nice. But put myself, in the same situation. I've done the same thing, and personally, I don't like a sequel. I did. I had this tape called The Real World. The first one I liked came out like 2011, 2012 ish, era.
Mm.
And then I had another one, Real World 2, that came out 2016, 2017. I don't like the sequel to it. And I actually like that's like one of the tapes I don't put online anymore because
Hmm.
I'm just like, if I re-recorded it, maybe there's some songs I take off, but I'm like, that's something for me. I'm like, I don't want people. If people were to say, hey, I'd like to hear that, I'd be like, no, I don't. I'd rather y'all not hear that. So I
Gotcha.
know how it feels personally, so it's not a thing where I'm like, just this, and that. I'm like, I've done it myself, and I'm like, man, like I'm disappointed in what I did myself. So I
Yeah.
know how it feels.
But yeah, let's get into it, man. Like I said, there's 21 songs. You take away 3 skits, take away a couple of, like I said, like beat mixes or whatever. That's really roughly we were leaving around like 16. So, um, I will start today.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I will start today. Let's see. My 3 favorites are uh, I have 4 here. You'll pick one. You'll pick a different one if I pick one. I feel like.
Gotcha.
Uh, I like Get Sober. Get Sober is a good record. Is a cool record. I think a lot of the things that the overall, my overall take on the tape, I'll save for later. Um, but just for the songs that I have, Get Sober is cool. It's a very cool track. Has a good hook. Um, the freestyling or the writing in the head here isn't that bad. It's kind of it stays focused for the most part, as much focus as you're gonna get during this era. Um, but it's cool. It's decent. It's a good record. Cheetah's Anonymous. I really like this one. It's, but I feel like the one of the biggest issue I'm having is it's short, but that 2 minutes that he gives us here is phenomenal stuff here. I was actually surprised that I really like this one. Um, I guess the other thing we have to talk about is just we don't have to worry about the beats here because it's one of those situations where it's like we know where these beats come from. A lot of them will sound familiar if you've been around the block or whatever, Dilla stuff. Um, so this is really a focus on like the words and the lyrics and what Charles does with the songs. But she's anonymous. That 2 minute, I love that record. And my favorite favorite song on the tape is Sonic the Hedgehog theme. I like what he did there. I like how he kind of told the story from like the Sonic perspective and was throwing a lot of Sonic references in there. But again, did make it corny. Um, may or may not could have done without the singing of the Sonic theme song in the end, but it makes sense. So it's not as bad. Uh, but I like the way it flowed on the beat though. It wasn't that bad. And what's that beat from? I know that beat though.
It's the Far Side.
Thank you.
Run.
Appreciate you. So that also helps too, because that's a classic, what I'm saying? It's a classic beat that's very recognizable. But yeah, I really like that one. Those 3 are probably my favorites. There's another one, but you might say it, but I'll get back to it just in case though.
A blue suit, I put my shoes on and use you, abuse you if you too on the road. Off the road, no off-road courses, but you my course if you awful enough to eat. Chili dogs meaning y'all can't fuck with me. Can't touch the feet, not even my buckles touch the feet. Knuckles can't touch the feet as long as he's up to speed. Get it? In a minute you
Get Sober. I feel like it's a fun song. He starts off saying, I've done more drugs than the, Charles Hamilton of the past. So if you think you can outsmoke me or whatever, get sober,
What did he say
So,
specifically? He said the Charles Hamilton who made Reminder.
okay, Charles Hamilton made Rhonda. Thank you. Yeah, he was like telling y'all, yo, get sober. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like the most randomest, weirdest, like anti-drug spokesman, where it's like, hey, I've done more drugs than you, so you probably should stop. Don't do it. It's the one thing is like I'm not condoning it. I'm just letting you know what I've done.
Right.
So get sober. And it's like one of those things. It's like it's an odd way to tell people to get sober, but if it works, eh, can't argue with the results.
The goal is the goal.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? We made the goal. So it's a fun song. Some interesting bars in there. I will say this: so Cheetah's Anonymous. That's actually the one song I liked back then. I could tell you, like,
Okay.
back then when I first heard this tape, I was like, yo, I definitely like this. I remember that. Just the shut the fuck up, like that's what
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it's catchy as hell. The verses dope, and like you said, it's just short. I'm like, man, if you had like even like another verse on it, even if it's like another 8 bars or something, I don't know. Say something. He lets it fade out with the beat, which is cool. But I'm like, damn, like I would have loved that was like another verse on that one.
me feel like your husband. Late night, you go to Brazil the next day. Sex was the best way, but excommunication is the reason why our communication don't believe in now, and I'm believing how and why. So stand by as the operator makes an incision in my heart with this call. My girl would get pissed off.
And then Sonic the Hedgehog theme. of course, rapping on the classic beat from the Far Side. Another StarCHaser that liked this song, Tori liked this song. I remember because she brought it up, and she was just like, oh, I just wish it was recorded better. You know what I mean? But she's like, love it. Good song. Like I said, just it's one of those things where he does the beat justice, so I'm not mad at it at all. I'm going to have to pick another song because you picked one of mine, but it's cool. For my three songs, I'll pick Cubano Lust. I like that song. It's a chill beat. I like the verses and the hook. You know what I mean? It's catchy. Charles has some catchy hooks on here. Fat booty working it out. I'm like just bobbing my head to that song. I really like that one. Let me pick my extra one already. I'll say I don't know or IDK. I like that one. Had that spacey, dreamy feel to it, like one of those like dreamy, sequencing songs. It feels like just like that. That's actually the other song I want to pick too, but pretty good song overall.
Yeah.
Only thing that I'm just like, because I think when I don't know, he starts it off saying, I think they said she's over 16, so I can't get in trouble. It's like, oh my God, like,
Yeah, I think that took me out of it immediately, bro. I'm gonna be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. So other than that, I was like, I don't know. I don't remember what he said. I don't know. So I'm like, all right. But the third song, actually, just like that. I would say with this song, it has like an eerie feel to it, but it's somewhat inviting. I feel like if Charles and Dilla were actually like able to collaborate on something before Dilla passed, I think this would be like that type of song. Like a beat, it's perfect for Charles. Um, Flows nice. It's just a simple hook. Came upstairs and she gave me top, just like that. I mean, it's. I think it's very relatable. It's a simple to the point. If you ever had a girl come upstairs, give you top, just like that, like, and then she probably left after. Like you didn't have to do the. So what you
What you
doing?
doing? Yeah.
Yeah, you don't gotta do that.
Yo, what what you about to get into?
Yeah, you just and she I'll see myself out now, and yeah, so just like that. So
Yeah.
Let's do it. True story.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. It's not a song, but very memorable. Everyone remembers this if they heard it. The house shoes skit. Because technically we didn't say the whole name of the tape. Technically the whole name of the tape is, and then they played Dilla 2, Fuck House Shoes. Technically that's the whole name of the tape. But the house shoes skit where he for 41 seconds.
Yep.
Charles is just saying, fuck house shoes, you made me racist, fuck you and everybody that is like you know what I mean? First he's gonna say Harlem, but he's like, nope. Sega, 41 seconds in your mouth.
Yep.
So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive, like, cause it's right to get sober, so I'm like, I'm not paying attention to the track list as much. So as soon as that comes on, I was like, oh, that was all right. I thought, cause I didn't even know how long it was. Thought it was gonna be a song coming up. Nah, that's it. Just 41 seconds to just say what I gotta say, get off my chest. And then the following song comes up. Yeah, I had a couple of seconds to say. So I'm like, wait, what? No, you just can't go back into it all calm, bro. Like what?
Yeah, he flipped it because, like you said, it went from that one song, then fuck house shoes, and then it went to like a completely different feel to it. And I'm just like, okay, all right. And I think in the beginning, I might have been, I don't want to say disappointed, but I was like, I felt like he would have made like a whole song about it, just because if you guys don't know, one of the guys, house shoes, an actual person, someone from the Detroit area, where like he was like one of the first people to actually like say something to Charles or about Charles when the whole Dilla situation happened, especially with Charles's technical first debut album that got shelved, This Perfect Life. We'll get into that whenever we cover that episode. But yeah, he definitely was one of the people like, yo, like he came to the defense of Dilla, but he definitely seemed like he was like a little bit hard on him, but understandable, because if you're someone from Detroit or that area and you really know Dilla, it's like people hold him in high regard. So it's like understandable, but it seemed like he definitely just wanted the worst for Charles. And I'm like, I understand Charles reacting the way he did, but I definitely expected him to like maybe say more or do an actual song about it. But I guess with him, he was like, nah, I'm good. So
Just going through some of the songs that you said. So you Cubana, I want to make sure the actually Cubana Lust gave me a lap dance.
yeah,
It's groovy, man. It's groovy. I wouldn't say it's something I would go back and listen to often, but in the scope of this tape, it's one of those ones that kind of stand out. Again, good storytelling, just about getting a lap dance, basically. Even showing you where he's taking the dollar bill and placing it on. You know what I'm saying? It's very vivid imagery that's being placed here. I can respect it. Again, focus. I'm not mad at it. IDK, yeah. Mm. So the thing about IDK, when I heard that line, I was like, that's not good at all. But then I was trying to figure out, but since it's 2011, it can't be. I was like, maybe he's on the way to London. The only reason I say that because it's not my rule, but in London, for some reason, the age of consent is a little bit different, obviously. And that age seems to be the age that they go for. I only know that because of that stupid. You remember that Childish Gambino bar
yeah, I
from
do.
Camp?
Yeah,
Hmm. When I heard that for the first time, I was like, "What?" I was like, "Nah, bro, that's not cool at all." But then you read up on it, like, I guess I still think that's weird, but whatever. But the track overall, like you said, that has that, you know, I've described it as that like ghosty, like really whispery type of vibe or whatever. So other than the first part, it's a decent song. And then yeah, just like that, again, it's straight to the point. Sometimes you just have to have a straight to the point message for a song. And again, I think the best songs on here or the better songs on this tape are ones where it's focused and Charles is seems like he has an idea in mind. I think there are a lot of other things that he's like says or raps on his tape that are either confusing, leave too much to the imagination to have to ask a bunch of questions, or it's all over the place. And so I think you kind of highlighted some songs that I may not playlist, but I do appreciate the efforts on them just because they were better than the other ones on the tape.
gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah. So it's one of those things where when I first listened to this tape, I'm like, I remember Cheaters Anonymous, but then I'm like, other than that, I don't think I would have been able to name anything else that I really liked back then. But now I'm just like, okay, well, the songs you named, I'm like, I'm cool with, especially the one Cheaters Anonymous, of course. And then there's some other ones where I'm like, there maybe like two or three other ones I didn't name, but I'm like, I could listen to them. You know what I mean? I like if they're just playing in the background, I wouldn't skip them. I'd be like, this is actually all right. This is okay. So
Before we get into the ones that may have missed the mark, I will ask you, um, speaking of sequels, have you ever ran into a sequel? We probably talked about this before. Did we talk about sequels that are better than the first one? We did.
yeah, we did.
We did. We did talk about that. How can I flip that question then? What are some bad sequels? What are sequels where you were like, I kind of got a good feeling about it, and then it's just you look at it and you're like, nah, I could have did without this. And not saying that it ruins the legacy of the first one. If anything, kind of highlights the legacy of the first one because like this was really good, and you probably should have left it at that. Do you have any things? It could be in anything: video games, movies, books, whatever.
If I was to say sequels that were just bad, where I'm just like, oh man, this was, I was expecting it to be great and it wasn't.
Mm,
It the only two I could think of in my head right now, because I'm trying to think of like of movies, and like a lot of times, like I don't watch movies as much, but I say like music wise, like I said, the Lloyd Banks and Eminem thing. I
mm,
remember like definitely disappointed in both of those. And Hunger for More 2 and Marshall Mathers LB 2. I was like, number one, Hunger for More, I remember Lloyd Banks got to that point of like being lazy, but like he didn't want to admit it then, but you could kind of tell because like all he wanted to do was just rap, which is
mm,
not necessarily a problem. But once music starts to elevate and you have to start promoting your own music and start, you have to be more than just an artist.
yeah,
Then that's when like Lloyd Banks, all of his like weaknesses started to show like tenfold, and it's just like, ah man, like
yeah,
if your rap is not like top tier, then you're definitely just falling by the wayside. And then
mm,
Eminem, I think I don't remember if Revival came out first or Marshall Mathers LP came out first. I think Marshall Mathers LP 2 came out
mm,
first. And I was like, nah, don't name this that. Don't, you know? So I'm like, yeah. Other than that, I really can't think of like anything in my head that was a ah man, I know there's some things, but like for the sake of this podcast, I'm not gonna just like waste any more time.
Yeah.
Those are the two I'll go with. What about you? Anything you can think of?
The one that always comes to my mind where I'm like, and to be fair, the first one's a cult classic. It's not a like they weren't getting like Oscars or shit on the
Oh
movie.
wait.
Uh-huh.
Pause. Okay.
You
Only thing I'll
remember?
say, I'll put them in a category. Pretty much any straight to DVD part two movie, like
Oh, yeah.
Belly two, or you know something like that. Like it's like bro, and it doesn't have the original people. It's someone else doing the fucking movie. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, no.
Like all the original characters are like they've changed, or like not even like they changed, they just changed actors. And you're like,
Yeah.
that's not him.
Yeah, anything that was a part two that went straight to DVD, like not even like in like a select, you know, showing, a viewing or something. No, like
Yeah,
straight to DVD or straight to bootleg, whatever you want to call it. It's like no, yeah, all those, get rid of them.
that's fair. Uh Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Ah, man, yeah, you're right, you're right.
Bro, that first Mortal Kombat is in that it's bad but really good category. Like the acting isn't great. The movie really doesn't really make sense, but it still is a Mortal Kombat movie and you can feel it. And the fight scenes are badass. It's a good movie. And from that perspective. So like when they were like, "Ooh, we're coming up with the second one," I'm hyped. I'm like, "Oh, it's good." Man, they did everything in their power to make that movie terrible. And I
Yeah,
was so angry. I've watched that movie maybe once. I've never even tried to watch it again because it's just that bad.
I'll watch it sometimes because it's more like just because I love fighting games and stuff like that and anything with related to it. Like I'll watch stuff like that and I'll be like, this really isn't great. Like I watched a what was it? It's the one YouTube channel, What Happened, where they go over certain movie video
Hmm.
games and tie-ins and stuff like that, whatever. And I'm like watching that back and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. But stuff like that, like if I'm bored, I'm like, you know what? If it was on TV or something, I might just watch it again. You know, I'm not gonna like search it on my way for my out of my way. But I'm like, okay. But I get you.
Yeah. Oh, and Home Alone 3 and anything that's coming after that. So unnecessary. Like why you even try to pull that off, bro? Home Alone 1 and 2 were enough. We didn't need a third one with a different kid.
Exactly.
So mm-mm.
Yeah.
Now tell me some of the songs that may have missed the mark for you, or you just were like, nah, this isn't it.
All right. So I'm definitely gonna start off with a this might be in contention or you know, some people might disagree, but I'm gonna start off with the first song. I Heart Dilla. I remember first listening to this, and I remember there's been some Charles tapes where I've heard like the first song, I'm like, that didn't start off that strong. I don't know how
Right.
I feel about this tape. And then it turns it around.
Right.
I first heard this and I'm like, man, I don't think this ain't gonna be it, man.
Mm.
Something's telling me like strong feeling this is not gonna be the tape. So I will say this, how the beat's fire. Beat is great. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? No problem with the beat. It's what Charles says on there. You know what I mean? Charles like just Uncle DZ, I love you, Uncle D. I'm like, bro, what are you doing, man?
Mhm.
Like, bro, what's going on, man? I'm like, and it's one of the things where of course, everyone knows Charles has, you know, such a huge appreciation for Dilla, but it's when then he's on the hook and he's talking about, you know, I cannot fight this, Dilla, I love you. Dilla, he's sounding he's crying, and I'm like, bro, like, I legit was like, I think he lost it. I think he's actually snapped. And then like halfway through the hook, he's like, love him or I'll kill you. You know, he's just like, you know, oh my God. It's like, yo, like I'm like, what's going on? Like some of the verses, like, chill, it's all right. But I'm like, bro, like, it's too much. I guess say Dilla worship. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
crying and all that. Like, I'm just like, this is just, it's too much. It's too much for me. And I'm like, bro, like, I think you can have a love and respect for an artist without it, you know, going overboard.
Hmm.
Because there's some other songs where Charles will say some stuff. This is not one of the other songs I want to pick, but in the next song, Nine Gets It Cracking, which I think is an okay song.
Yep.
But there's something about he said. y'all said for Dilla to suck your dick, I'll suck his dick first. And I'm like, bro, no, like why? Like you don't have to do that, you know?
Yeah, and we should
But for
we, we should establish too though that it's not the act, right? But like the dude has passed away. So it's like it's just like, you know what I'm saying? At this point he's passed away. It's like the imagery again, it's just it's way out there. You know what I'm saying? It's not the actual act. If that was, whatever. That's you do what you gotta do. But I just feel like the reason he got in trouble with the Dilla thing in the beginning was because, like, again, the man has passed away. Let his legacy live. Don't try to be Mr. Conjure Ghost guy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was what pissed a lot of people off in the original. And it just seems like here he doubled down on.
definitely, he definitely doubled down. So the thing where, of course, not only that, he apologized, in interviews. It's like, hey, um, I was trying to, be respectful and give love and respect to Dilla's legacy and whatnot by just trying to put, his name on this project or whatever. And some people seem like, okay, I seen what you did, but like one person said, hey, just say this was inspired by Jay Dilla. That's all you had to do. But of course he said, hey, I put my foot in my mouth. I apologize. Didn't mean it. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, cool. He apologized for it. So he's learning his lesson. And then this tape comes out and it's like, basically sounds like, yeah, all that shit I didn't mean. I just did that as a PR, just for PR because they told me to. So fuck y'all. I love Dill. I'll suck his dick. And it's like, bro, you don't know. Like you
Mhm.
don't have to do all that. You feel me?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, like, bro, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Okay, other than I Heart Dilla, I would say um George Massa. This is the era where, like, we talking about Jack Splash, George Massa and whatnot, and a lot of people are just like, yo, what's up with these, people, George and Jack, because you're mentioning them a lot, but then you're talking about, oh, Dilla, take possession of me and say whatever you want, or George or Jack, take possession and say what you want. And there are some situations where people can be possessed, or they end up having something take over them. But at the same time, especially in this era, people are thinking, okay, this just sounds like an excuse to just say some wild shit and be like,
Right.
nah, Dilla said that. You know what I mean? Some people don't believe in, poltergeist and all that, but with George Massa, it's a chill vibe. Has like some classic Dilla vibes on there, you know what I mean, with the beat. Um, it's just some like I said, just more of the Dilla worship. It's like he's talking to Dilla and he might be talking to George too about, some of the stuff like taking possession. And I'm like, just nah, not really. Come on. Let's not do that. And then the third song I'll say, Supersonic's second freestyle.
I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. You pick every one I picked. I'm dead ass. I'm not even kidding. Like 3 for 3. Like
Right.
nailed them.
I think that's the first time we ever done that before, where we were like, yeah, we did. Anyway, um, for me on this one, I'm not sure what beat it is, but it's the wow, 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 wow. Like it sounds like a little kid, which is annoying, which just reminds me of being like in supermarkets and places shopping, and kids are just being annoying. So that
Yes.
reminds me of that. So I won't blame that on Charles. It's just
Right.
reminds me of places I go and kids are being annoying. Like shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. That's why I
Right.
want to
Yeah.
say them. I want to play Cheers Anonymous for them. Um, and then like Charles used like the super fast flow on the beat where I'm like, this beat doesn't call for that. Like, and it's not even like the let's say the super fast flow that like Twister will use or something like that. It's like he's just rapping like double time or triple time over a beat that's just like no, like this you it's not even like, oh, this beat you can kind of flip it like that. It's like
Mhm.
no, like it doesn't. Luckily, he doesn't do it the whole time on the song. But it's just like, all right, so he goes back to a regular flow. All right, cool. But like it was just like, ah. And then at the end, he dissed like some of the freshmen on the cover. You know what I mean? This Vanessa, but then he said, take your time when you suck my dick because you lost mad weight. I'm like, that was funny. That was a little funny. But other than that, I was like, yeah, it's just too much going on. So for me, any of the songs where it's like too much Dilla worship, where he's talking about like just too much, like being too graphic about it. You know what I mean? I'm like, nah, not for me. And then the Supersonic freestyle, the second freestyle, I'm like, just no, just we've seen Charles do that on certain songs where he'll have some idea and be like, oh, I'm gonna do this and that, this, that. Yeah, and it's like, no, don't do that. Don't. So those are my three. But obviously you have the same three. What are your thoughts on those?
Uh, I don't even want to talk about the other two. I really just wanted the Supersonic second freestyle.
Okay.
I mean this as constructively critiquing as much as possible. That is one of my least favorite Charles Hampton songs ever.
Right.
I because I listened. I tried twice, and I was like, and this is just another example too of just like a sequel thing. So like we know where Supersonic's first freestyle comes from. That's from
Was
oh
it Def
crap.
mixtape rapper?
What-
Was
Yeah,
that Def mixtape rapper?
I think so. Either definitely mixtape. I think it was definitely mixtape rapper. Yeah, that or Sonic Hamilton. It was one of those two. I think that one. I think it was Death. But that's another example of like a sequel where it's like you see that you're like, okay, that's the second one. Okay, cool. And then you hear it and you're like, why? Why did you take it there? It's like again that triple time flow. Just that it's not necessary on that beat or whatever. And like you said, it didn't do it the whole time, but like it's in the beginning. And so like most time you only have like 20, 30 seconds to impress somebody, to make a positive impression on somebody with a song. And I feel like he just wasted in this one. You know what I'm saying? Versus trying to do what he did maybe later in the song. But then again, he just, he takes the time to just diss people. But, for whatever reason he has. I can't say that doesn't have a reason or he does have a reason. But he chooses that. That's what he chose it for, whatever. I think a point you're making though that I want to bring up too is a lot of this has been worship. I think the original and then they played Dilla was more of a ode to Dilla. Like I I appreciate Dilla. Let me take his music and put my spin on it. It wasn't like all praise Dilla. It didn't feel that way. It didn't feel culty. I'll say that. This feels culty. This feels, and we understand that Charles is into witchcraft and he believes in the power of magic and all that stuff. I understand that. That's fine. I just think that, like you said, a lot of this is possess me and very much idolizing type of situation, and it's not a pleasurable experience for the listener. um I'll say, and to add a couple for me, I guess I'm not really a fan of, which one was that one? I think it was Esme to it. Esme to it, I think it was called.
Yeah. In the beginning.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that one. I just, again, it's just like you're talking about a person that you idolize, the way you're talking about that person's significant other. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the contrast is weird, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what her response to the whole Dilla controversy was back in the day. I don't remember it. I just remember the mom and like the people surrounding Dilla that were really the at the forefront of that. So I don't know
Yeah.
how she felt about it herself, but it's like if she didn't say anything and like then somebody just sends this to her, it's like, bro, like it's weird. You know what I'm saying? It's just the vibe of the tape is weird to me. Just overall. Like it doesn't feel like that smooth, oh, like this is my inspiration, you're my inspiration, here's what I did with your music. This is what it's like Frankenstein. I built a monster out of this music. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really the main thing for like a lot of songs on here for me. It's just like it's not it doesn't feel like music. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I can understand that just because especially at this time, there's a couple of tapes that came out before and then they played Dilla too, where people were feeling that same sentiment. I think someone mentioned, I think was What the Hell Is Wrong With You, that tape where they're just like right around that point was when Charles was like starting to take a nosedive with like I said, it's the quality of the music, it's how he's recording, is a couple things, and just especially him not writing stuff down. So it was like a bunch of factors going against him. But it's one of those things where like it's when you add controversy on top of it, like I said, the Dilla thing, and then anyone else that's involved in it, then it's just like, man, it's really hard to defend this tape or defend any tape. I will say this: I think if some of the songs were like shaved off, just period. Like it wasn't just such a long tape. I think it would have had like a better reception. You know, I definitely think it would have had a better reception. And this is definitely like wild. This is like just like everything wild, wild west. I like that's why I call it. It was the wild, wild west back then. Like I said, anything was being said by anyone, and like I said, just it was just a interesting time, and maybe not the best of times to be a Charles Hamilton fan, or to be around, because so much toxic energy was going around. You know what I mean? It's being passed around. You know, so I'm just glad that we're out of that, and we're able to kind of like, even though you said, for example, you never watched it, you weren't around at the time, um, you were able to see it as a bystander, as a witness. Now, when I step out of it, when I step out of being in the group and I watch it, I'm like, okay, all right, I feel like I can like kind of pinpoint things a little bit better now compared to like when I was like in it and I'm just like, yeah, this is getting awkward now, you know, and not talking about the actual tapes. So
Yeah, I think today is I think with time, as people get older and like, if you grow to a certain extent and, as a person, you realize that constantly hate listening and hate watching stuff is stupid. You're just wasting your own efforts. So I feel like right now we're in a community, or we're building a community that actually likes the music and actually we have an appreciation for Charles. Not that idolize, some people do have an idolization of Charles, but I can't judge people. But we do have people who do have appreciate Charles and want the most well being for him. And at the end of the day, we're fans, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it's as a way to be a fan, but also give criticism. I think we're in a better place as far as that perspective of how we talk about Charles Hamilton music at this point.
true. One thing we didn't mention, the cover. How did you feel about the cover of this tape? Because for me, I always will remember seeing it and being like, yeah, that's definitely. And then they played Dilla too. It's, I think it's technically like a similar cover to like a Dilla tape, but they just added Sonic and the rings and all that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. For a few moments, I looked at it, I was like, I mean, they're Sonic rings, but not really. I was like, are they donuts? I thought they were donuts for a second. They look like Cheerios also, like the ones surrounding them or whatever. But I get the symbolism or whatever. And it looks like it's coming out of a what would you say that is? Probably like a store, like a restaurant or something.
What is it? A donut shop? I think that's
Yeah,
what
that's
it
what I
is.
was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think I want to say it's another, like if you take off the Sonic and the rings or whatever, like I think that's actually just like a Dilla tape. I forget which one,
Hmm.
but like just it's the same thing, but they just added Sonic and then they added the rings. So I can't remember which one it is.
I mean, it's cool. It's definitely it's one of those things where like if you see it, like you said, you'll know what tape it is now. Like it's attached to a tape. You know what it is when you see it. It's not like some tapes where it's kind of ambiguous when you look at it. It's like, what is that? This one is more, vivid, even if you take off the title at the top. So
Right. And
I
I
thought
think
as a cover, I thought as a cover it was cool.
yeah, I was okay with it. Like I said, it's one of those things where very memorable. It's one of those things where, like I said, it's a polarizing tape for the most part. Like I said, there's some people that actually liked it back then, and then a lot of people that didn't. But when I see it, I'm just like, and then they played Dilla 2 instantly,
Mhm.
And I definitely remember there's people that wanted to see like other covers for it, because I'm not sure if they just didn't like it or if that was more their feelings towards the tape itself, because maybe with them there's like, what, maybe I might like this tape better if it has a different cover, which doesn't make sense because it's like you still gotta listen to the music, unless you're just like looking at the cover while looking at the music and you're like, yeah, I like this better for some reason. I don't know. But definitely memorable. I could definitely say I always will remember that tape. So,
Yeah. But we did just listen to, and then they played Dilla Volume 2.
fuck
In
house
2020.
shoes.
Right. Sorry, I forgot the full tape. Now, will you be doing closing remarks, closing arguments for your client here?
Sure. Sure.
Okay. Well, make
And
sure you give us your closing arguments, the rating, and the review, and if you think your client is innocent or guilty.
all right. So here's what I've learned, right? So when it comes to someone committing some type of crime, you
Mhm.
know, you have to prove if they are innocent or guilty. And the thing is, the evidence has to be there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if there's lack of evidence on their behalf, that's not my problem. You
Mhm.
know, there's been a lot of time that's passed. Like I said, this tape came out in 2011. We're in 2024. Most people would have said this would be the worst Charles Hamilton tape of all time, you know,
Mhm.
or like one of the worst. Like, so my thing is this: after further review and coming back to this tape, there's actually some good songs on here. There's actually some good songs, some decent songs on there. Let me not forget the ending of the song of the tape is Aloe Vera. It's just a beat, whatever, but
Yeah.
that beat is amazing. It's a great way to end the tape. So I'm like, nice. This is what I can say. From going from maybe only one song to actually liking actually a handful, you know, like there's at least like in your situation, how you would playlist some songs, I could playlist probably like 6 or 7 of them. And if we're not counting the actual interludes and skits, it's like, okay, it's not really the greatest percentage looking wise, but this is definitely not the worst Charles Hamilton tape of all time. It's one of those tapes where if you like the freestyling, if you're okay with the quality of, like the freestyling in the MacBook and, not actually rapping into a microphone, it's really not that bad. It's not that bad. I will say this though, to be truthful and to, be real about it. Uh, there's some songs that suffer from the not having a microphone, rapping into the MacBook, freestyling. Some freestyles are completely fine compared to like other freestyles.
Mhm.
Um, I remember being like, man, when we get to this tape, this is definitely getting like a Robotnik.
Mhm.
But I really feel like if I'm giving a tape of Robotnik, it really means like I would like more likely not really listen to this again. For this tape, I'm not going to go back to it tomorrow and listen to it again. Be like, oh, this is definitely in my instant classics. I
Mhm.
definitely have the songs I like from this tape. But it's like I said, it's not that bad. But this is not one of his greatest tapes. And especially comparing this to first Dilla tape,
Mhm.
first Dilla tape definitely clears it, blows it out the water. But compared to some other tapes that, are out there, this is not the worst tape. So I will give this a respectable Mecha Sonic 2. This tape, there are definitely better tapes than, and then they played Dilla 2. Fuck House Shoes, Electric Boogaloo. But this is not the worst. This is definitely not the worst tape. I feel that I challenge everyone to listen to this, and I know that you guys will probably find some songs of your own that you will champion and favorite.
Mhm.
So overall, Megasonic 2, not the worst Charles Hamilton tape ever. I wouldn't even say it's like, even if people were coming up with like a top 10, it's like realistically, I wouldn't even put this in like a top 10 worst whatever. It's like it's just not, it falls flat a lot because of the first Dilla tape, so much better. And then, some of the Dilla worship that could turn people off. But not the worst. Definitely not the worst. So Mechasonic 2. Uh and that's my statement, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Um, so overall, this tape, right, it suffers from a lot of different things, and you've mentioned a lot of them. I think that if you didn't like the MacBooks wrapping into the MacBook era, you're already you're behind the 8 ball immediately, right? I think I was one of those people. I think sound quality is an important thing for me. Like this isn't the worst sounding of this type of thing because there are definitely others that are just even harder to hear and harder to listen to. But it doesn't help when it's compounded with some of the content and some of the stuff that he's rapping about in these songs or whatever. I think the best songs again are ones that everyone can relate to without having to ask a bunch of questions. I don't think there's nothing wrong with having songs where you have to kind of decipher some lyrics, decipher some metaphors. That's fine. I think we both love that type of stuff, right? We're both big fans of that. I think it gets into a difficult area when you're trying to determine what he's saying at all, right? Like I don't like I if you listen to a song and the first thing you come out saying is I have no idea what he was talking about, that's not good, right? Like that's you want to kind of feel like you know what's going on when you're listening to a song, and I feel like there was a lot of this during this tape or whatever. Um, I'm not gonna play this many from here. I honestly probably one or two, maybe, depending on how I feel after I'm listening to at least those two again. And I know you said that this might not end up on people's top 10 worst lists. And that's the difficult thing too, because there's hundreds of DVDs, hundreds of tapes that he's had. So you're always gonna find multiple different lists that, might skate past it. But it might not be because they didn't. It might be because they didn't listen to it. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or they've listened to so much where it's like, it keeps getting pushed down and down and down. For me personally, this is one of the 10 worst that I've listened to, and you know what I'm saying, this is one that I'm not gonna go back to. So I'm gonna give this a Robotnik because I still encourage people to listen to it, mainly because you got to make that determination on your own. Because what I like and what I take from Charles's music may be something different from what somebody else does. I saw somebody on in the comments of this tape saying this is their favorite tape ever. And I was like, that's cool, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever you're listening for, you got that. You got that from this tape, and that's fine. And that's cool. I'm just saying, for me personally, as you know, somebody who likes to listen to the lyrics and like the metaphors and like the beat composition and the song composition, like when when songs sound like songs, I just don't think this hits the mark. I think this one it's it's more of a personal tape than it is something for the consumer. I think what ends up happening. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a Robotnik. Still encourage somebody to at least give it one listen. Not saying you got to go over it. I'm just not gonna go back to it personally.
I respect that. It's one of those things where I feel that for some people, especially if they heard that compared to maybe some other tapes that have came out since like 2011, 2012, and I'm like, if you're actually listening and still actively listening, then I feel like this tape right here will actually like probably be bumped up a bit, and then actually will be like, you know what, there's a tape that I heard that came out later on that I think is worse than this.
Right.
My personal opinion, because for example, you gave it a Robotnik. One of the tapes that I gave a Robotnik was Hypergoth.
Mm-hmm.
I would, and this is real shit, I would rather listen to, and then they played Dilla too, than Hypergoth. Dead serious. I would rather listen to this tape than Hypergoth again. Like if I had a choice, like hey, if I had to go make a drive somewhere, what do I rather listen to? I'd rather, even with all the Dilla, worship and all that,
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, there's songs on there I can deal with and I can get
Yeah.
jiggy with. You know what I mean? On Hypergoth, not as much. But that's just my opinion. But we are all entitled to our opinion, and I just want to say thank you guys for listening, because this is not the easiest job. Because if anyone else is in this position, I bet some of y'all probably wouldn't even review this tape. To be honest, y'all would probably skip over a bunch of stuff. So hey, listen, it's we gotta do what we gotta do. So gotta take care of business.
Yeah, we are not Daffy Duck. We do not duck and dodge anything, bro. We go for the tapes that, maybe some people didn't have in high regard, but that's our or haven't listened to it all, but that's our job, man. I mean, we don't get paid. So, well, at least I don't. I don't know what Celsius man over here gets.
There's no Celsius over here. It's just purified water from.
Yeah, but I saw on your Instagram story recently that you got another flavor. So I don't know what they be sending you.
Here
Anywho,
come
like I
here
said,
come the brand new flavor. Yeah,
yeah,
RP Craig man.
Craig Mack, RIP. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I disagree with your take, but I respect your opinion about the hypergolf thing. I would listen to hypergolf before I listen to this again. I'm gonna be honest. But that's what makes this pod great, man. We're two different guys who have we have similar tastes, but we also have enough different tastes where it's like we'll have these type of opposite opposing, opinions or whatever. And that makes for a good podcast. And that's just how the life works, man.
It does. It definitely does.
But you guys let us know how you feel about and then they play Dilla too.
Fuck house shoes.
Thank you. And let us know what you would have rated, what some of your favorite songs are, and maybe give us some of your favorite sequels in music or any other media. You can also subscribe to the YouTube, StarCHaser Central. You can also follow us on Twitter, StarCH Central. You can also follow us on individual pages. I'm at Stick Around 54. That's STIK around 54 on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, where can they find you, buddy?
Instagram, the Mike Jackson, Mike Jackson. On Twitter, Mike D Jackson, Mike D Jackson, 1D, 2 E's. Make sure you guys are following Charles on Twitter at Charles Hamilton. Make sure you are subscribed to him on YouTube at the Talented Mr. Hamilton. He does his lives usually every Friday. You know, you'll get some new music. You'll get, hey, you never know. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you check out the lives. He also replays them, so you can always check them out, even if you're not available on Fridays. You can go watch it on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget to make sure you are tuned into his blog, where he's either explaining what he's doing next, maybe lyrics from a song, anything. But make sure you're checking out the blog, enterthehamilton.blogspot.com. There it is.
Yes, sir. Be sure to let us know what you would like us to review next, any specials you would like us to do, any playlists you want us to create. I've seen some good ideas. I actually saw some good ideas from a friend of mine about what we should do for our upcoming few episodes. So we might, apply those to certain episodes. Give us some more tapes from 2011. I feel like that sweet spot is where a lot of the turning happened, or a lot of people had different opinions of the Charles music at that time. So we kind of want to review more of those to kind of see if maybe we were bugging, or maybe people had a point. But yeah, just keep rocking with us. We appreciate everybody. We keep appreciating all the subscribers, all the followers. Shout out to the Discord. We have a good conversation in there, man. Yeah. Mike, you have anything for the people before we leave?
Thank you guys once again for checking us out. Hopefully you guys are going to stay tuned for any other. Make sure you're challenging us with some of these tapes. You know what I mean? If you guys aren't in tune with the Discord, please leave a comment or something like that, and then we'll invite you to the Discord. Whatever. We want as many Charles Hamilton fans, StarChasers, and just anyone that wants to talk about the music, not some random bullshit. But yeah, feel free to join us, and fuck house shoes.
I didn't say that, but I do not disagree with the sentiment.
Fuck house shoes. Stick, yo, chill out, man. Why'd you just say that? That's crazy.
Anywho, bro, we signed out of the StarCHaser Central podcast, man, where we always encourage you to follow your dreams
and reach for the stars.
Alright, Ed, since you might know my girl, if you see her in the street, cause she crazy,